I'm somebody that has had easily over 500 houseplants in the past few years, and that is wild to say out loud. But when I first got into it, I didn't know anything about houseplants. Although I know a lot more now from trial and error, because let me confess a little something. I do not have a green thumb. And I think that is so common amongst people. When I'm out in the real world, it comes up in conversation that I have a plant channel, and I hear so much of people saying, oh, I don't know how to take care of plants. I don't have a green thumb. All my plants die. Well, let me tell you, same, because the struggle is real and was real. But I will say I'm kind of blessed that I had somewhat of a black thumb, because now I know easily how to keep plants alive, and not just keep them alive, but help them thrive. And I can share that with all my plant friends who maybe struggle with plants like I did for the longest time. Really, it came down to 3 core things. Like, once I learned these 3 core things and changed these 3 core habits when it came to plant care, I noticed such a drastic improvement. I don't struggle with root rot anymore. I don't really have to stress out about pests anymore. My plants bounce back if they do go through periods of stress, and I'm seeing new growth all the time. It has been a game changer changing these 3 core habits. So I'm going to share them with you today and help you save your plants, because that's essentially what we're doing. Not just save them, but help them thrive. And I might tack on a fourth one too at the end, but let's jump into it, because out of all the care tips, I'd say these are the 3 that are the most impactful. This Houseplant Care 101 series is sponsored by rePotme.com. With rePotme, you can have all of your houseplant supplies delivered right to your door. They are a one-stop shop for all of your houseplant, orchid, or succulent needs. They have custom handmade houseplant soils ranging from tropical houseplants, cactus and succulents, pothos, snake plants, and more. I cannot live without their clear slotted orchid pots. They have amazing houseplant fertilizers and so much more. I've included their link in my description below, and you can get 10% off any soil with my code Ashley. Okay, so I'm starting out with the most important one first, and I'm gonna read it to make sure that I say it correctly. Don't adapt your watering to the soil. Adapt your soil to the plant. So what does that mean? The one thing we're trying to do is prevent root rot. That's the easiest way to kill our plant. So we spend 90% of our plant care and plant chores is trying to prevent overwatering, or getting the watering just right on our plants. And especially when I was first doing it, I really thought that I had to be so careful how much water I gave my plant. I'm like, I don't want to overwater and give my plant too much water. So I would do the tiniest little, water amount, or even if I, then did water my plant, what was honestly the appropriate amount of water, my plants would get freaking root rot. So I would think, I'm not overwatering, so I'd be dealing with my plants dying and dealing with root rot, and I would know I wasn't overwatering, so what the heck is happening? And I think this is something that a lot of us struggle with. So through this trial and error, this is what I learned. 1, not all plants can live in dense, moisture-retentive soil. 2, most store-bought soil is way too heavy. 3, the wrong pot size slows drainage too. Once I started actually customizing my soil, my plants have thrived. So what's a good soil recipe? It's going to be different for your tropical plants and then your cactus and succulents. So the first recipe will be for this tropical plants, and that would be 50% potting mix. So this is going to help retain the moisture. But again, we want it to be well draining. So we're going to use 50%, 40% other substrate to help it be well draining. And this will be things like perlite, pumice, orchid bark, activated charcoal. All of these things are going to be fabulous for tropical plants. They're going to love it. It's going to help promote airflow, oxygen to the roots. It's going to help hold on to moisture, but let the water free flow. That's what we want to see. And then you're really not going to have to worry about root rot until you repot your plant again. And I do think it's good when you bring a plant home to allow it a little bit of time to acclimate before you immediately repot, unless you feel that that's necessary for some reason. But it is so worth it to invest a little bit of time and a little bit of money into making sure you have the best soil possible, because then you literally don't have to worry about that plant again for the next 2 years or whenever you need to repot it again. And these plants thrive on this soil mixture. I'm telling you, this is the biggest revelation that I've had about plant care, and it's just not talked about as much as I would expect. It probably is, but to me it felt like a revelation when I learned that soil really was the most important thing. It was crazy to me. So for cactus and succulents, a great recipe is something very similar to the tropical one, except you want to use less potting mixture. So maybe 30% potting mix and then 70% like sand, perlite, pumice, anything that's going to help promote it to be like extremely well draining. And this is going to solve like 99% of your root rot problems. Again, it's not difficult to make your own soil blend, but there are lots of customized soil blends out there. My personal favorite is rePotme. I am so incredibly proud to be partnered with them. I've been partnered with them for years, and they ship houseplant supplies right to your door, and it's their customized soil blends that I'm addicted to. So I'll show you a few of them. They have philodendron, they have snake plants, they have like cactus and succulents. I mean, look how good their soils are. See how pretty that is for cactus and succulents? There's lots of chunky bits in there. They also have one that is just for like tropical plants, which is wonderful. I use that one all the time as well. The old me that used to worry I'm giving my plant too much water, non-existent anymore. I literally can take my plant and dunk it into a bowl or whatever of water, let it sit there for a while until the soil is completely saturated, and then pull it out. Zero worries. There's no way I could do that with like standard potting mix. And then my plants were either freaking overwatered, getting root rot, or completely dehydrated and so incredibly thirsty. So I'm telling you, this is a lifesaver for our plants. Another mention with overwatering and prevention, along with the soil, is making sure that your pot size isn't too large, because if that plant is sitting in a ton of soil compared to its root ball, then it's going to have a really hard time absorbing all that moisture with the excess soil. And it's also going to spend a ton of time growing out its roots trying to fill the pot, and it's not going to put a lot of leaf growth out, which is usually what we're looking for. So one, it's going to spend a lot of time trying to fill up the pot with roots, and two, because of the excess soil, it has a much higher chance of root rot. So you only want to go 1 to 2 inches bigger than the root ball, not necessarily the old pot, but the root ball. Tip number 2, better lighting equals happier, more resilient plants. I used to think that I had bright light. Turns out my eyes thought that it was bright, but my plants did not. I think a lot of us are overestimating how much light our plants are actually getting and underestimating how much light they actually need. If plants aren't getting enough light, they grow leggy, the soil stays wet longer, and they actually become weak and more prone to pests. And their growth slows dramatically. A lot of these plants that are sold to us as low light tolerant basically just means that they'll die slower than the other plants, because it's just a slow decline for a lot of these plants in our low light areas. So here are some simple lighting rules that I've learned. East and south facing windows, amazing. North and far corners, complete struggle bus. Rotate plants regularly and avoid dark shelf or dark corner plant graveyards. And yes, grow lights have saved my life too. Yeah, my plants were struggling. I wasn't sure what was going on, and so I implemented grow lights and it saved the day. So if your plants are struggling and not having a lot of growth, you might be really needing to give them some light. So here are some questions you can ask yourself that will let you know if your plants need more light. These are questions I ask myself. 1, is my plant stretching towards the window? 2, are the new leaves smaller than the leaves before? 3, is my plant growing really slowly? 4, is the soil staying wet for a really long time, even though I have a really good customized soil blend? If you answer yes to these questions, then you need to bump up your light. More light equals stronger growth, faster drying soil, less root rot, and fewer pests. Lighting was definitely one of those, oh, this is why my plants hate me. Okay, the final piece that helped me stop killing plants was proactive pest management. A lot of people think pests equals a dirty house or a bad greenhouse. Or maybe you bought it from a big box shop or the wrong nursery and they don't take care of their plants. I'm gonna tell you right now, nope. Pests are everywhere and they hitchhike on everything. They're just a part of plant life, and that is important to accept and not be scared of. First of all, it starts at the store. I don't just grab and go. I really look at every plant that I bring home. I look under the leaves, I check the stems and petioles, I inspect the soil surface, I look for like sticky residue, deep scan for like bugs or webbing or like little black dots moving around, white fuzzy bits, little cobwebs. Does the new growth look good, or are the leaves having trouble unfurling or cracking? I also try to take a good look at the roots. Do they look healthy? Are they having root rot or not? Also, is the soil waterlogged? That's not a good sign, because if it's been sitting in waterlogged soil, root rot's right around the corner. Sometimes I would bring a plant home and it would die right away, and I would think, what did I do wrong? And I just chose the wrong plant from the store. It already had underlying conditions to begin with. And yes, even amazing nurseries get pests. Why? Because plants come from the same growers, same trucks, and same supply chain. So checking really is your first defense. The next thing you do for proactive pest management is quarantine your plant for a little while. When I bring a plant home, I give it a good wash off on the leaves, maybe get rid of any little pests or eggs that I didn't see at the store. And I do proactively treat it with some products, which I'll talk about. But after I do that, I let it sit by itself for a couple of weeks. That way, if it does have a pest issue, I can get on it quick and treat it, and it hasn't been near my other plants to quickly spread those pests to the other plants. All right, so here's my pest prevention routine once I get home, and this pest prevention routine has saved me. So the first thing, like I said, is I bring it home and I shower off those leaves. And I don't just do a little dinky, I wash off those leaves, because those eggs will be stuck on there. And you just want to make sure even if you can't see it, just wash those leaves off. It will help get rid of any pests that you have on there. Then the second thing that I do is you can repot if you want to, or save that for later. If you notice that the soil becomes really waterlogged when you've washed off the leaves and it's not well draining, that would be a great time to repot your plant with really good soil, because then you want to prevent that root rot from happening. Then I go in with my winning combination duo. So this is for the leaves, this is for the soil, and they work so well together. You want to spray the leaves off, and you're just going to give it a good spritz. Of course, I'm going to make a mess, but this one is called insecticidal soap, and this kills insects on impact, and it kills all insects. So even spider mites, which this doesn't touch, this does everything else, this will get rid of the spider mites for you. So you can spray it on the leaves, and I've not had bad experiences with this at all, of burning the leaves of my plant or anything. You can spray it all over the leaves of your plant, maybe let it sit for a while, and then you can rinse it off if you want to, because it does have a little bit of a suet smell to it. Or maybe it's killed off some pests and you want to rinse off the pests. And then you could even go in with a little second spray and just leave it on there and let it sit. And then this goes in the soil, and it has measurements on the back, and you want to remain consistent with treatment on this. And you sprinkle it into the top of the soil. And you don't want to dissolve this in a watering can or anything like that. You want it to stay in the soil. Not live in the soil, but stay in the soil. And then every time you water your plant, that plant is going to absorb that active ingredient, which will kill off the pests. This also gets rid of fungus gnats, which is so nice because they're so annoying. Like I said, the only thing that this doesn't get rid of are spider mites, which this will definitely help with. I'm adding a little bonus tip on here, a fourth tip, and it is fertilizing. I underestimated how important fertilizing was, especially in the early days. I just felt it was really unnecessary. I thought, oh, they have soil, they're fine, or, I'm giving it water, it's getting light, it's no problem. But it wasn't until I started actually fertilizing that I noticed huge improvement on my plants and huge growth. And what ended up making me actually fertilize was I felt guilty because I realized that these plants are limited to the nutrients in their pot. They can't access it like out in the wild. They can't access nutrients and spread their roots out to where they need to go to get the fertilizing. So I felt like I was really just depriving my poor plants of the nutrition they needed, but I was always really nervous. I don't know why fertilizing felt so intimidating to me. I think I saw everyone online and they were just like, oh, use this, but don't use this. And it just felt scary, and plant stuff shouldn't be scary. We should be brave to try new things and encouraged to see what works for us. And if something goes wrong, not feel so guilty about it or like it's the end of the world. It's something to enjoy. It's a fun hobby, and it is a learning curve hobby. And I think we need to be understanding and compassionate with each other, but also with ourselves. So with that said, I would say any fertilizer that you can find will probably work great, as long as it says for houseplants or for cactus and succulents. And whether you use something that's organic or something that's synthetic, totally fine. Just be really careful to follow the instructions on the back. I will say that, because then I started fertilizing and then my plants started dying. And I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? Well, it wasn't from fertilizing. It was from fertilizing way too much. So then I didn't fertilize at all. So it's been a cycle and like a learning curve. And what's great about that is that I can share my firsthand experiences with all of you, because I too have had a black thumb. So fertilizing is so important. Once I got the hang of it and I stopped making mistakes and actually following instructions. I am a Sagittarius, so sometimes direction and instruction can sometimes be annoying to me. But yeah, once I started following the instructions, it was great. And my plants have thrived from it. It has been so important. These are two that I absolutely love from the rePotme website. This one's organic. The difference between organic and synthetic, there's a lot of differences, but the main one is that with organic, you have a lot less likely chance of burning the roots. But synthetic is great. You just want to be careful that you measure accordingly and you don't put way too much. You can't be lackadaisical with it. It has to be measured. Where with organic, you don't have to be quite as measured, although it is really important to not over fertilize, even with organic. This one has a slight fish smell for the first day. It's an organic fish and seaweed fertilizer, which plants go crazy for. And then I also use this one all the time, and this one has been great as well. Both are for houseplants. And with fertilizing, you want to start at half strength at the beginning of the growing season, which is springtime. And then if your plants respond well to half strength, again, we're giving them a chance to get acclimated once they've been dormant during the winter, and give them a chance to like understand that it's time to grow again, make sure that it doesn't burn the roots of the plant. Then go to full strength during the growing months, and then start to taper off in the fall. And then don't fertilize in the winter months, because a lot of these plants tend to go dormant in the winter months. They'll even start to get rid of some of their old leaves. So don't be alarmed right now as we're coming into, well, we're fully in fall, coming into winter. If you're seeing your old leaves dying, it's not you, it's just the plant is getting rid of the old leaves, and then it will like push all of its energy into the root system. So I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please give it a thumbs up and follow for more planty videos. It really helps my channel and to continue providing plant content for our plant community. We also have a great community on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. And I'd love to know, what plant are you determined to keep alive? Because I know I have mine. And as always, thanks for being here. Thanks for learning with me. And I hope you have an absolutely wonderful rest of the day and that I get to see you soon. Bye.